Coming up, Sauman Cheng discusses the ethics and morality of interim with her guests on The Open Forum. But before that, well wishes to Queen Elizabeth II of the United Kingdom, who is celebrating her 60th year on the throne with the Diamond Jubilee. And now, The Open Forum.
Hello, and welcome to Radio HKIS. I am Sauman Cheng, your host today. Since this is our first broadcast, I'll start off by telling you a bit about us. Radio HKS is run by 4 students, Barton Liang, Edmund Ho, Martin Mann, and myself. Over the next week, programs from The Gramophone, hosted by Edmund, featuring music recorded by our very own students, to the news, The Soapbox, where Barton will present and rant about the world's weekly headlines, and our literature program, A Rose by Any Other Name, will be making their debut. We hope you find Radio HKS entertaining and perhaps just a little bit educational. So on that note, without further ado, I will begin the open forum by introducing today's most honored guests. In the studio, we have Mr. Kevin McCaughey of both Math Department and the Agora fame, as well as our very own Senator of Athletics, Jordan Lem. Thank you for joining us today. Also, as promised, fellow hosts Martin and Edmund are here to join the discussion as well. So our topic today is one no doubt everyone is intimately interested in. Interim, or more precisely, the ethics and morality of interim. I believe a few news and views back, the issue was brought up of how interim is not environmentally sustainable, and whether as a supposedly environmentally friendly school, we should be indulging in interim. Jordan, could you perhaps present to us this view and your own opinions on the topic?
Yes, with pleasure, Sauman. Okay, so in terms of the ethics of going abroad for interim, I don't really see the difference between our school going to different countries to pursue interim activities, and I don't see a difference between doing that and colleges, doing study abroad, because if you think about air travel and stuff, it's kind of the same thing, but I have heard the view that people think that one way to cut back on our emissions would be to pursue more local activities, interim activities. So that is definitely a possibility too.
So as in turn all interims into Hong Kong interims.
Hong Kong interims, closer, Hong Kong, Asia around. Places that wouldn't require long distance flights.
What is your view on this matter then, Mr. McCaughey?
Well, I think the difficulty with any particular issue normally arises when you have conflicting issues, and I think when you look at interim, clearly there's a benefit to interim. When you look at environmental sustainability, clearly that's an issue that we all need to be paying attention to, and now we have 2 situations in which there's a conflict. And what I think we have trouble with is when you have those conflicting interests. I don't think we have a very good calculus in terms of figuring out which one takes precedent over the other one. So I think we've got to look at both of these very, very clearly. On the other hand, I do think that there is a really big open question as to whether or not we should be considering taking all of the financial resources, the time and the energy of the high school that we normally put into interim, and thinking about maybe using that to help those in need in our neighborhood, being Hong Kong.
Yeah, so that's a service question. Are we doing more by sending the money we would use up in going on a service trip to the organization we supposedly want to benefit instead of going on the said trip? Martin, anything to say on this?
I do think that if if we do retract all the overseas interims and then limit it to only Hong Kong, it would have to be interims that are of equal or perhaps greater value than what we're currently doing. And I do admit that perhaps sometimes the adventure interims or perhaps even culture ones are, some people may see them as less valuable an experience as service interims. And if we really are a school that focuses on bettering the people that we want to serve, that rather than having fun in an adventure interim, then I'm sure that there are equal service opportunities that you can get in equal to the ones that you can get abroad that are present in Hong Kong, and we just need to go out and have the initiative and have the goal of bettering them rather than purely having fun over that week.
Which I think is the basis of service clubs and SOS. That's where our energy is supposed to be directed to. Which is why I think culture interims in many ways have a stronger argument for you can't replace that with local interims. Because culture, you have to go and experience it.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I agree with you on that one, Sauman. And I was thinking that, like, Martin, your idea to retract, I guess, would you say a lot of our resources into going internationally? I think that it would take time to change people's mindsets, because I think a lot of the appeal of interim is the idea of going abroad. So I think that if we wanted to implement these changes to make it more local, it would have to be over a number of years, gradually, gradually, obviously.
Probably. But I mean, the other question is there a basis? Is there something wrong with us wanting to go abroad to other places, whether it is for service, supposedly, or culture or adventure? I mean, we have the resources to.
Right.
I mean, the general opinion is that we want to. Is there something wrong with us, in some ways, I suppose, indulging that desire?
Is there anything wrong with wanting to travel? When you
on
holiday.
Edmund, please do express your opinion.
Well, I think that to, on one hand, uphold such an environmental standard, we should all become there's vegetarian day in the cafeteria in order to reduce the amount of meat that we do eat, and there's also recycling activities going on around the school. But on the other hand, you also hold up this interim, which I think produces more carbon emissions than you save by doing all the other things at school, and I think it is quite hypocritical to do so. And on one hand, champion to champion such environmental actions, tree hugging. And on the other hand, to go to exotic locations such as South Africa or someplace like that. I think it's.
In fact, ironically, some interims do go abroad to tree hug, which is a bit worrying.
Yeah, you can see the irony there. I think one of the focuses of interim is definitely learning and inquiry, and so. In that lens, through that lens, I think a trip that is, based on increasing your awareness of a culture is a viable trip. But again, when we have competing interests, is where we run into difficulty. So on the one hand, we're trying to, for instance, in the Jordan interim, I know we're trying to raise the consciousness of our students about the Palestinian and Israeli conflict. I think that's a noble goal. But on the other hand, it's a very, very long flight, and it uses up a tremendous amount of carbon.
You're rather sitting on the fence here, Mr. McCaughey, about which side you're on. As a teacher, who's seen, students come and go from your Jordan interim and perhaps other interims, do you feel that students in general do take away a lot from these interims that could be replaced perhaps locally?